Assalamualaikum everyone. So today I'm going to discuss the most important topic for this is current affair exam. So put first thing first. If you prepare well for the top 20-25 topics from the last 25 or 24 months, you would be easily able to handle one topic for a month. And it's not like you have to prepare it from 360 angle, right? So these days, since we are in in the conflict about the Indus Water Treaty, so I try to comprehend it in like in a critical overview, because in the exam they are not going to ask you what is the Indus Water Treaty, help, how they breach, why it is. No, these are not the kind of question they are going to ask. They are going to ask you critical analysis. So I tried to inculcate that because I scored well in CSS current affair exam. So that was like 75 plus. So I thought, why not to help you out? So let's get started. So the overview of the presentation is, first I would like to explain what is the Indus Water Treaty, but I would not go into the more detail. Secondly, I would try to give the snapshot of the history for the Indus Water Treaty, and what's the treaties actually, and why there is conflict between these two nuclear states, and what could be the impact in the region at the globe at large, and what recommendation we do offer. So this is how it's going to work. So first thing first, what is meant by, how it is important for the South Asia at large. South Asia is basically there is a chemistry, or there is a strategy where we do rely heavily on sharing rivers, because it's the natural resources and we have to do it on the sharing basis. Since there is a quotation about that East has resources and West has technology, so we are together, we are going to share the resources with each other for the long run. So we need water for the agriculture and for the survival at large. And water is very important. So, why there is a need of regional stability, and how the rivers can play a positive or constructive role in this regard. So, rivers foster cooperation, and this helps to build a positive and cooperative relationship among countries. So, but at the same time, it could pose as a challenge in the geopolitics. For instance, the recent conflagration between the two nuclear states are the answer of this, challenge, and it has changed the dynamics of overall geopolitics at large. So next, why we think that there is a significance of Indus Basin. Indus water, why we have so much reliance on this treaty, and why we are very sensitive. We, not only us but also India is very sensitive. Why our neighboring country is very sensitive about it. So basically, one river sports over 300 million plus people. So it has huge significance, and so many people survival based on this river. So let's get deep delve into the history part. First of all, we need to see what's the background before partition, because rivers are not made we got it as in inheritance at the time of sub constitution. So before 1947, British India was managing water well via the canal system. They have the extremely well a systematic canal system without regional boundaries, because they made a subcontinent as colony. So there was no such concept of regional boundaries. Not only this, after the partition, the water crisis configure up, and it becomes, a point of, contentions between the two neighboring countries, and this led to the partition to the new boundaries. So, the India tried to dominate us, and they try to control our the river system, uh, and ultimately these disputes spark and it result into, in the long run, it changed the dynamics at large. So initial water conflicts, if we talk about, if there must be sequence about understanding a particular conflict, like before and after. We put the 1947 as a base year, and we discussed how Britain were like doing it that way, and how it's in initial water conflict are after the post 1947. Water flow interruption in 1948. It was the first time this becomes a start of hostilities between the two neighboring countries, and they started full-fledged. It's a starting point for the number of conflicts later on. So it got heated at the moment that ultimately a super organization has to be mediated, and they involve themselves in order to resolve this Indus Water Treaty issue. So World Bank involved in the mediated talks between India and Pakistan to try to reach the agreement. So negotiation and signing up, they try to make it formal and try to put the maximum points in order to create a balance and deterrence for the war in the future, right? So this treaty was signed on September 1960 in Karachi, and that was, it could be a part of one MCQ in CSS exam as well. Not only this, we should know who was the key signatories and their role. Thing first, in India, the leader was Nehru. From the Pakistan, the signatory of Indus Water Treaty was Ayub Khan, and the World Bank was the witnessing this the whole scenario of the Indus Water Treaty, right? So there was initial reception in both countries. There was mixed feelings. Some thought that it's a good decision, it would help us in the long run, but all other, there was like conflicting views that we are doing compromise, and so there was a kind of mixed feeling on for the both countries, right? So now let's talk about the early challenges in implementation of this Indus Water Treaty. First of all, India was reluctant to share the data, and ultimately, we have observed that there were so many infrastructure concerns aroused due to this issue. So, if we can understand it well, what is the like Indus Water Treaty and why there is a need and what is its purpose. So basically, Indus Water Treaty is to manage and divide the water from the Indus River system, because as I talked earlier, that in rivers play an important role in terms of survival and in terms of for the agriculture, and we are agro-based economy. So it's really very significant for us. So ultimately, in this treaty, we have done the division of rivers on the two bases, like on for the India and for the Pakistan. For India, we have seen that there should be eastern rivers. They have divided it well. Like World Bank was the significance of this agreement, and you know, so for the Pakistan Western rivers. uh, for the Pakistan Western, we got the share from the Western rivers, like we got the Indus, we got Jhelum, and we got Chenab. But for India, they got the Eastern River, and it was mutually decided that they are going to share this, and this arrangement is going to work for them in terms of division of rivers. So, let's talk about what would be the mechanism of water sharing as per the Indus Water Treaty. First of all, they tried to make a permanent Indus Commission overseas, like so it could not be prejudiced and no one can dominate it, and it would be really very helpful for the technical cooperation, right? So what they have done is they have made a independent permanent Indus Commission, so it would be helping in the and trying to balance the mechanism of water sharing. So everyone try to play a positive role, and the role of permanent in this commission would be like they would have to conduct annual meetings on yearly basis, or they have to do the inspection. Either everyone, both the parties are trying to maintain the Indus Water Treaty and not violating the treaty. And if in any case there would be any kind of dispute resolution, they are going to resolve it. So that would be the role of permanent Indus Commission. So it should not be prejudice for any country, right? So let's talk about the legal and institutional framework for the Indus Water Treaty. First of all, this treaty is backed by the international law. So ideally speaking, you cannot change it, because World Bank was mediating significantly person or party, and that's why they have tried to adopt the arbitration mechanism, and they try to follow it in letter and spirit, right? So since it's a very important treaty, so both countries should follow it, and they should be at the same page in order to resolve this Indus Water Treaty issue. So currently, if we talk about what happened actually, what's the current flow distribution? Both nations, like Pakistan and India, were trying to continue this treaty, uh, as per the rules in practice. But recently, the issues come up again and again, and now it becomes a bone of contention for both countries. So Pakistan use of river for the Pakistan was like Pakistan has a reliance of 80% reliance on Indus system. That is key for irrigation. And since we have the agro-based economy, and this river is very important for us, so 80% reliance on Indus system means we have the like maximum or dominating role of Indus river in our economy, right? So as far as if we talk about the use of river for India, India is utilizing or making it well by hydroelectric projects. They have made so many projects, or they have tried to conclude it mainly on the western river, but now they are trying to interfere in the eastern side as well. So the infrastructure was built like Bagliar, and dams were by Indian, and Pakistan tried to make the barrages for as per the Indus Water Treaty, since they have divided the resources, and it was clearly mentioned in the agreement, right? So now comes the problem with the monitoring and dispute resolution. Since, as I talked earlier, that there should be regular meetings, and if there would be any kind of dispute, they should resolve it by the independent and neutral experts. So that was the case as always before, but now they are trying to despite so many tension, it was working well. But now in the recent joint meetings, there were so many talks where Pakistan tried to express his concern regarding the violation of Indus Water Treaty, and this resulted into tensions. So, at the technical level talks, but it's still in progress. There is no as such, conclusion right now. If we see the international observations about it, UN and World Bank still praise the treaty, and they said it's a very good treaty signed by the World Bank, and both countries are cooperating with each other, and it has longevity and stability. But let's get deep. What went wrong? So if it's really well treaty, so why there are tensions still exist? Basically, they have made it because all of the strategic concerns, their mistrust, there are border tensions between Pakistan and India, Pakistan and Afghanistan, Pakistan and China are on one page. So all these tensions, all these issues result into putting the Indus Water Treaty at the dominating factor, and ultimately this result into the strategic concerns. So there was a dispute about the dam as in the past, but Pakistan raised his objection, and through the neutral expert, it was ruled out, and India got the favor in that dispute. So India got the upper hand in that dispute, and dispute was resolved in very well manner due to neutral expert, right? So there was another project dispute, and then both of the country went to the court of arbitration, and they said that they have limited they put the limitation on the diversion, because they through the reverse system you can put the diversion, and another country maybe they will not be able to get it, the desired right of their part. So they went to the court of arbitration in order to get the concrete result. So this project dispute got resolved as well. So, coming back to the, if we talk about the India's water project in Jammu and Kashmir, Pakistan see them as threat, because Pakistan see that it is just for to occupy the Kashmir, and they want to make their roots there, because they think that Pakistan think that Indians are there, they can threat it, and they can seize water supply. So that's the biggest threat for Pakistan, and that's why Pakistan has concerns that India should not, build more projects in India, a water-based project in Jammu and Kashmir. So Pakistan concern was because Pakistan is already water stressed country, so Pakistan security was directly tied to national security, and this issue is conflagrating up in the long run as well. So what they're trying to do, they are trying to wage a full-fledged war, or they are they are trying to resolve the dissolve this treaty, because they think that water security is like, it's not helping them at all. So, as if we talk about, since media is the fourth pillar, so what's the media talks about? Media is saying one, rhetoric is like saying one thing again and again, and this result into fueling the hostility of the both countries, and both are saying that it is giving us goosebump, and it is useless to talk about about the Indus Water Treaty. So let's talk about what could be the way out to resolve this Indus Water Treaty issue. So first thing first is we can do it with the diplomacy if we compare it with nationalism. India take it as as a national cause, and still there are a lot of peace efforts in terms of resolving this matter, trying to solve this matter through diplomacy, but instead of doing it through the political posturing by making it as a bone of contention in both countries. So if we can say in easy words how they are going to do it, basically India and Pakistan wants to take the strategic control of water, and rivers viewed as leverage in conflict, and both countries are at the forefront in order to they want to resolve this matter, but they use it as a tool to vent out, to get the grudges against each other. So if we interpret in the technical terms, so there are different interpretation of treaty clauses which have different results, and both countries are at loggerhead, and they think that it's they interpret in different way. Both countries are doing it for their own vested interest, and it is very hard to do the technical interpretation, which result into dispute. So basically, since they already have a lot of issues ongoing even before the establishment of Pakistan after the subcontinent, they still have the trust deficit. They have, as you know, the historical animosity, and this result into they don't want to cooperate even on this important treaty. They think that this way India think that Pakistan will dominate in the long run, and vice versa. So that's a bone of, that's a conflict. So there is another role of external and environmental factors. So there is a climate change, there are third parties which can influence, and it is worsening the challenges, already exaggerated or compounded challenges, and this is ultimately impacting the negative impact for both countries, I must say. Not only this, if this treaty and if the conflict would remain same, there are chances that we will get the more food insecurity, since major agriculture collapse in Pakistan already, and if we will have the water level low and we will not have the access to our 80% control of water, we are most probably not going to get it, and it will collapse our agriculture sector in the long run. So there is a chance that there would be a risk of war, and if the tensions are and conflicts will accelerate like as before, there are chances that these armed conflict will increase by the time, and it's going to will be a major trigger for the war. So let's talk about the international legal implication. You may say there are violation, may attract sanctions and arbitration. Both countries, if the international at the international level, they will violate the international law. Ultimately, this will result to the sanctions for the both countries, whoever will violate this in this water treaty. So that's why they are trying to resolve this matter at earliest. So another impact is environmental and social chaos, since there is a lot of mass migration from the rural to urban level, and there is already a famine in the Sindh, and we have already witnessed with the problems of economic downturn. So a lot of things, lot of factors are shaping this treaty and making it even more significant from the past. So, what next? How we can resolve this? There is need of the meeting of permanent in this commission. So, in their regular engagement, they can resolve these issues arising up. Otherwise, it would be end up in war. So, as before earlier, now World Bank is again going to mediate, and they're trying to facilitate the court, and expert arbitration is going to present the redressal of the cause and issue. So both countries should be at one page in order to be in a same Indus Water Treaty, right? So there would be an urgent need for the technological monitoring. For that purpose, there is need of the use of satellite data, and there is real-time flow tracking as well. If we will not be able to do the technical monitoring, it would be very hard, and there would be a long series of blame and game at the both sides. So, how the civil society and can do the engagement? Academia can play a very important role. NGOs, there are so many NGOs which promote dialogue, so they can present a narrative where they on the both side of the border, they civil society should be presenting the cause that the both countries should do the collaboration and cooperation with each other in this matter. So another way is to do the bilateral talk. This would help to rebuild the trust between Pakistan and India, and through the high level negotiations, they are going to be back on the level of trust as before. Though it's very hard, but still the bilateral talks are in progress. So let me add another point about the legal clarification. So it's better if we know the modernizing interpretation of key clauses, because it is very wrong that they are interpreting the different clauses of Indus Water Treaty for their own vested interest, and result into misunderstanding and wrong interpretation. So for the legal clarification, it would be better if we clear it in that way. So there is another joint management projects, which for the Indus Water Treaty, there is need of the shared infrastructure and early warning system. They are going to help in the long run, and there would be strong infrastructure on both sides. Like India and Pakistan should do the cooperation, and they should make infrastructure like this, that they can share it, like, and they can both can get benefit from it. So for this, they can design even the early warning system, so they can get a flood alert, other natural calamities alert. So both can do the joint management project, and this will make them make they will become the strategic partner for this Indus Water Treaty. So, as I have already talked about the international mediation, UNO and World Bank, they can continue support for this. And let me summarize the key insight. Despite the conflict, treaty has endured and must be protected because it has played a huge part in the past, and it is still very relevant today. And in fact, it is going to be very helpful for the future as well. So we should do it, like we should endure the Indus Water Treaty and apply it in letter and spirit, right? So, final thought, let me conclude this, that water must be a source of peace, not war. So that's all for now. I hope so. If you have still have any question about Indus Water Treaty, you can reach me out via the comment box, because it's relatively easy for me to respond there rather than juggling in the Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp. It's very hard for me. So it's better that you should comment under this video if you have any question, and I have tried to cover it at the holistic level for all the cases related, critical analysis based of this topic, not the traditional method. Hope so you like it. You can leave your comment down below. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.